Howdy folks, Austin Falingo here with JamPlay.com. Welcome to week number 5 of creating jazz melodies. So, in this lesson here, right, this live lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some rhythm changes. And we're going to use thirds and sevenths to make a melody, right, which are great chord tones to work around when creating melodies. And obviously in jazz, we have the upper extensions, right? So we have, a lot of pop music and stuff. We have roots, thirds, and fifths, right? Power chords and such. But with jazz, you use a lot of sevenths. I mean, you use that in pop and stuff too, but obviously it's very prevalent in jazz. And then from there, we have upper extensions, which are 2, 4, and 6 between 1, 3, 5, and 7. Right? And they become 9, 11, and 13. We're not really going to cover that. We're going to essentially use chord tones for this whole melody. But I'm going to show you like a kind of a cool thing with thirds and sevenths, especially in the bridge, right? So first up, what are rhythm changes? Well, rhythm changes are, it's a 1, 6, 2, 5 progression, right? And then in the bridge, it goes to a 3, a dominant 3, right? A secondary dominant chord, to a 6, to a 2, to a 5, and then back. It's a very common progression, made very famous by like Gershwin's tune, right? George Gershwin, I've got rhythm, I've got rhythm. Right? So like I said, it's a really good progression to know. And let's go back to a couple weeks ago when we talked about the blues, right? Rhythm changes are another really great, they're great tunes to learn because the progressions are generally the same, right? Just like blues, it's a 12 bar, obviously that we learned a couple of cool jazz chords in there with the blues, but just like rhythm changes, there are so many heads. Now, what's a head again? A head is a melody, right? In jazz world, sometimes we call them heads. Like, do you know the head to that tune? It's same thing as saying, hey, do you know the melody to that tune? Right? So, like I said, in a jam situation or something, another great thing to do, like, you can play I Got Rhythm. You can play the Flintstones, right? Bum, 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 bum. That's all rhythm changes. Cottontail is another one. Those are like some pretty famous tunes, right? So, like I said, you learn the chord progression, and then you learn a couple of melodies, and then before you know it, just like with blues, say you learn 3 heads of rhythm changes, 3 heads of blues, that's 6 tunes right? So you show up at a jam or something, you can mix it up every week with a tune or whatnot, and keep working on your other stuff as well. But, like I said, because of the chord progressions being the same, it's a good, we're working smarter, not harder, like we're always talking about, right? Okay, yeah, so that's a little bit of history behind the rhythm changes here. Now, let's talk about form here. This is a swing tune. What's the BPM here, which you have on your GP file? It's 118. Form for rhythm changes generally is AABA. Now, with I Got Rhythm, there is an extra tag on there sometimes. Some people play it, some people don't. Good to know. We're not covering that. Today we're doing Austin's rhythm changes. So, like I said, another contrafact. What's a contrafact? It's a chord progression with a different melody, right? This week it's gonna be a little bit more bebop-esque, just melody-wise. And so, what do I mean by that? Like, bebop kind of came about with horn players, especially, right? So you have to remember, a horn is gonna, they have the ability to use breath to jump around. Now that guitar, we're not using breath, we're using our fingers, right? But the vocabulary can be slightly different. And what I mean by that, this is gonna be a fairly simple, repetitive melody. We're kind of going through some changes. Every 2 bars, the chords are gonna change, right? But this melody is going to have more like leaps and stuff, rather more than like scalular kind of things that we've done that kind of lend itself to guitar really well. And you'll notice, like, especially if you get more into jazz, like the Omni books and stuff, right? Like, you know, those books are based around horn solos. So on guitar, the fingerings are going to be kind of weird. So there's going to be a couple little things today that might be, I don't know. I think when I started learning this sort of stuff, it's like, oh, it is slightly different, right? But all in all, good stuff to know. And like I said, we're going to kind of take more of a horn approach with the melody today, even though we are using primarily chord tones. And then a lot of thirds and sevenths, and you'll see what I'm talking about with the bridge there. So, but yeah, form-wise, we have A, A, B, A, right? So 8 bars, A section, another 8 bars, A section, B section for 8 bars, then back to the other A section. So, all right, let's dive into it. We'll listen to it, then we'll play it, and then we'll keep moving here. So, all right. And it would be helpful if I would play the melody in there, wouldn't it? One more time, sorry. Here we go. Bridge. This is all thirds and sevenths. Right? All right, cool. So there's our tune, right? A, A, B, A, like I said, pretty standard. Didn't really do a whole lot of variation, obviously, because this melody is a little different with the leaps and everything. Here, I'll play it, and then so you can see how I play it, and then we'll kind of dig into how to see the melody with the arpeggios and we'll go over the chords and everything. All right, here we go. flat 6 triad at the end that we'll get into. Okay. So there's our tune. Austin's rhythm changes, right? In the style of I Got Rhythm, Flintstones, right? Flintstones, meet the Flint. You know, very similar, right? Also, I picked the key of B flat, right? Standard, I think it is the actual standard key for rhythm changes. You can play them in any key, obviously, but, you know, B flat's where it's at, right? Okay. So, we listened to it, we played it. Now let's talk about the chords, right? So, not rocket science. I'm going to keep, remember, and this also ties in, I highly recommend watching my jazz progressions practice plan. We're using a lot of the same chord grips, right? They're tried and true, they work. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So, first chord, we have a B flat 6, and everything's marked on your file here with the correct fingerings and all that. Also with the fingerings when we get into the melody and all that. But right, so we have B flat 6 like there. And honestly, everyone, like, I have it marked as a full chord like that, but I kind of use, you know, a lot of the shell kind of voicings, you know? So it's good to have that fifth on top right there, right? But otherwise, it's just, I'm playing a B flat, you know, so I have my second finger, 6th fret, 6th string, right? And then that, I'm muting my A string with that finger. And then first finger on the 6th, which is G, right? The G note. 5th fret, 4th string. And then I have my pinky on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, which is the 3rd, or the D note of B flat, right? So here's how I chose to do that. I B flat there, and then, like I mentioned, your 5th right here, which is your 3rd finger, 6th fret, 2nd string. But like with rhythm, I've mentioned this before, with guitar especially, it's kind of meant to be like felt and not heard, right? In terms of where it sits in the you know, in the ensemble. You know, so I'm kind of using those 3 notes, but like I said, it's good to have that option on top, especially if you were to end it, right? Or, you know, we ended it with that, which we'll go over here in a bit, but right, so we got B flat. Now, I think we covered this a couple weeks ago, but we have a G minor, and I'm playing it like that. Like last week, remember we went like this? Now, here's the thing, everybody. Options, right? It's good to have those options. So you can totally, if you watched last week and you were like, this is the coolest minor 7th chord ever, feel free to use it. I'm just going for, you know, easeability. So what I'm doing here, B flat 6, and then I got my G minor 7 like this, with the guide finger, right? The finger that doesn't change the string. Guide, that pinky guides all the way up, right? And remember, this G minor 7th also looks like a C if you're ever used to doing like a C sus like that. It's just the inner 4 strings, right? So I do a mini bar with my first finger on the 8th fret, right? And then my 3rd finger gets the G or the root, 10th fret, 5th string, 3rd finger. And then you have your bar there. So your first finger's got 8th fret, 4th string, right? Which is the minor 3rd of the chord. And then on top of that, I have my pinky right here, which is the minor 7th, right? Or the F note on the 10th fret of the 3rd string. And then, like I said, we still have a bar here, but that gets your root note right on the 8th fret, 2nd string, right? So there's your G minor 7th, but you can totally do that again if you want it as well. So we have 1, 2, these are all split bars, meaning 2 beats apiece. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now our trusty, everybody's probably tired of this, our minor 7th with the 2nd finger on the root, right? So that's 8th fret, 6th string, 2nd finger. I kill my 5th string by, you know, laying that finger on there so there's no noise coming out of it. Then you have your mini bar with the 3rd finger, right, which gets the flat 7 of the chord, or the B flat note, the minor 3rd, or the E flat, and then the 5th. Right, so there's our C minor 7th. Right, and then I just shift down 1, and I use, like I said, always tried and true, my trusty F7th chord, shell voicing with the 5th in the bass. You kill the 5th string with your 2nd finger. Then you have your 3rd and your 7th. Right, that's F7. So all together we have right? And this one, just real quick, you know, there's your 5th, what is that, 8th fret, 6th string, 2nd finger, omit the 5th, and then you have 1st finger, 7th fret, which is the 3rd, right, on the 4th string. And then your 3rd finger grabs the flat 7 or the E flat note on the 3rd string, 8th fret, right? And that move, and remember, if anybody's ever having trouble with these chords, it's one of those things, like I always say, just take little pieces of time. Best way to practice, keep an instrument near you, right? Say we're watching TV. Keep the guitar right next to you. When the commercials come on, press mute, and just do this for a few minutes. And that'll help build that muscle memory, and it doesn't make it frustrating or not fun, right? And before you know it, you'll have it down, right? So, okay, for the A sections, 4, C minor, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, B flat 6, G minor 7, C minor 7, E flat, or F, sorry, 7, again. Right? Okay, so now here's where it switches, and this is kind of interesting, and this is going to be more of the classic way that you'd play the second half of the A section for rhythm changes. There's several ways you can do this. There's also something called Texas changes, which I'll explain really fast. We won't go over the chords just for time's sake. But what we do now is we have a minor 5, right? So all this is this becomes F minor 7, B flat, and then I do a E flat chord, right? And we've seen this chord before. I use the 5th in the bass. And then a flat 7 chord, which is A flat to the key of B flat, right? And then back to C minor, F7, B flat, right? So I'll explain the chords here in a second, but just the whole context of the A section we have 1, 2, B flat, G minor, C minor 7, F7, again, B flat, G minor, C minor, right, F7, and then we have F minor 7th, just like this, just down 2 frets, to B flat, right, and remember, this is choice, right, and we've gone over this chord a whole bunch as well, right, your dominant 7th comes from that, but we're using a shell voicing, right, so first finger, 6th fret, 6th string, kill the A string with that finger, and then your flat 7, right, of the chord of B flat, on the 6th fret of the 4th string, 2nd finger, and then your pinky on the 3rd of the chord, or the D note, on the 7th fret 3rd string, right? And you could do with the 3rd finger there too for the 3rd of the chord. I just like the guide finger. I'm already here. It's easier for me just to slide back and just keep that finger sliding on that 1 string, right? So all together we have B flat, G minor, C minor, F7, F minor 7th, B flat, right? And then E flat 7, or sorry, E flat with the 5th in the bass, right? So your 5th is the B flat note. And like I've said in several of these sessions, right? These chords are great, they stay out of the way. I mean, you could play like a E flat major 7 there, which we went over last week, right? But it was in the context of D flat there last week. But I like these, like I said, they're felt, right? They're not really heard, and they don't. There's a little too much sparkle to that. It's a little too obvious. That's why I choose these shell voicings with just a couple notes where you can feel them and not really hear them as well, right? So there's our E flat. We got the B flat in the bass. Kill that string, right? That's 6th string, 6th fret, 2nd finger. And then our 3rd of the chord, which is G and E flat, right? That's 5th fret, 1st finger, 4th string. And then on the 3rd string, we have pinky grabbing the 5th, or sorry, the octave, or the root. Pinky, 8th fret, 3rd string, right? And then I take that guide finger down and I play the A flat just like this. So just like B flat, but down a whole step, right? Or 2 frets. So all together, A sections, we have B flat, G minor, C minor, F7, F minor 7, B flat, E flat with the 5th in the bass, A flat or the flat 7 chord, and then we're just back to B flat, right? F7. Now our second A, the exact same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, minor, B flat, E flat, A flat, B flat, F, right? All right, now we're at the bridge, right? These are gonna be the easier chords. You're welcome. Just a straight up from a C formation, D7th, right? So this is a very common chord. Now, like I said, options. Some of you that have been watching this, studying it religiously with me, you might go, well, Austin also plays he likes sevenths like that with the fifth in the bass. That is totally cool too. You know, I do that all the time as well, but just to kind of mix it up, I just did the straight up D7 like that. I love this chord. It's great. I love that one too. So you can pick, right? So we just got D7th like that, right? Your root, 5th string, 5th fret, 3rd finger, then 2nd finger on the 3rd or the F sharp note on the 4th fret of the 4th string, and then my pinky grabs the 7th, right, or the flat 7, right, 5th fret, 3rd string, and then my root is on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, 1st finger, right, and then Mr. Guide finger here, right, then I jump back to G7 just like that, so just like an A flat or a B flat like we learned earlier, just right there. And then we go to C7, just like D, down a whole step, right? And then F7 like that, right? So the bridge, you have 2 bars of D7, G7 for 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, C7, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, F7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So all together, let's say we're doing the second A into the B section. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? E flat, 5 on the bass, flat 7, 1, 5, F7, 1. Bridge. D7 for 2 bars. Boom, boom, boom. G7. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. C7. F7. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now one more A section. 32 bar tune, right? F minor, B flat, E flat, A flat, B flat, F, and then it's over, and then we just tag that at the end. We have F minor, B flat, E flat, A flat, B flat, F, and that ends our tune, right? So those are all the chords that we're going to learn. One quick thing at the end, I did, instead of just playing a straight B flat chord, I did a little triad like this, right? And it's all marked on your GP file. And what that is that's a root, a 3rd, and a 6th, which is the G note. You know, it's just kind of a cool little, you know, extra thing to throw in there, right? So you have 2nd finger root, that's 4th string, 8th fret, and then your 3rd with the 1st finger, 3rd string, 7th fret, and then your 6th, right, which is the G note with your 3rd finger on the 8th fret, 2nd string, right, and that's how we ended it. Okay, so now that we know all the chords, like I said, it's repetitive. There are a lot of chords. It's switch every 2 beats. You kind of get a break with 2 bars apiece in the bridge. Let's start taking a look at melody, position, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So as you watched, when I played the melody, and this week it's literally the same exact thing, each A section, and then the bridge is where it switches up. I didn't really do much variation. There's a lot of chords going on and stuff. Sometimes it's good just to keep, like I always say, simple works, right? So, okay, that's where we played our chords, right? Melody-wise, what I chose to do was kind of keep it in 3rd position. Now, why? because there's a ton of guitar in that position, right? So let's think about, well, we did the blues in B flat a few weeks ago as well, right? So I chose the exact same area. Remember, we did the pentatonic stuff with the blues, but there's a ton of guitar in that area, right? You know, and if you started here, it would be minor, which is really the box I feel like most of us guitar players learn immediately, right? But if you want to make it major, you start with your pinky. Now check this out, right? The thing is, it is quite a bit of chords with this. So I chose this box, here's why. Like, at every one of these lessons, before you learn the melodies, you want to learn your chords like we just did. You want to learn your arpeggios. You want to learn where the things come from. I know I sound like a broken record in here sometimes, but the point is like, I would learn melodies when I was younger and be like, oh, I don't, you know, that's just where it is. And until I saw, okay, here's where the chords are and everything. Here's where the arpeggios are. And then you notice how much, you know, melodies rely on, obviously, chord tones or arpeggios or whatever, you know, then it started making a whole lot more sense, right? So, check this out. Arpeggio-wise, I'm going to use a B flat like this. What's our next chord? G minor. C minor. You see how lovely and just that layout is right there. It's fantastic, right? So that's why I chose that area. You could see everything. So from here, you have B flat, G minor, just you start, you know, right there on 6th. And these are just straight, you know, I did have the 7th in this one, but we don't have to, you know. Sorry. C minor. And then F, and this is the tricky one. This is coming out of the D position, right, from Caged. I won't touch upon that a whole lot today, but it's good to know all 5 positions and see where all that happens, right? So you'd have F there, there's your E form. After that, you have D form. And then you go back to C, it starts over, right? But coming out of there, right? So what does that do? That covers all of our arpeggios for the, well, actually, no, it doesn't. And then the second half, we have F minor, right? And then we have B flat again, which is the same. F minor is coming from this now, right? So here's your major D, but then it becomes minor, so you gotta make it like that. Right? Right, and then B flat, same thing. Right? And then we have E flat coming out of that shape, and then A flat. Just keep them straight, roots, thirds, and fifths even, right? And then back to B flat to F, right, for the and that covers our whole entire A section. So you see what I'm saying? Like, there's so much guitar in that area. And just by kind of, before you just jump into a melody or something, by looking at that and going, oh, okay, well that, you know, seeing that and really seeing it. And I would really encourage too, it's like, don't blow over this stuff. You know, like really be like, all right, well, before I learn this melody, I'm going to really understand that area. And, you know, this also has to do, we're not talking about sight reading in here at all, right? But it's the same thing. It's like, when you do learn a melody, if you read, I mean, tabs are great too. I would recommend both. But just knowing your positions, right? Like, because if you've ever touched, you know, upon reading music, right? There's always position markers, like on guitar or whatever. It's like that for a reason, right? It makes it easier instead of just like trying to jump around everywhere. So that stuff is important, right? Now we move to the bridge arpeggios. Well, what can we do there? You know, you can go, right? D like that. Now I actually, because my melody goes, I chose to look at it like this. Right? D coming from the A form. But it's good to see it in as many ways as you can. That's the C form, right? And now we have G next. G seventh. Which we've gone over in several of these sessions now. C is the same as D, just down a whole step. Right? And then we have F. You can do that, or, you know, or you can use open strings, which is a little tough, a little bit more work, but. Right? But anyways, there's the groundwork for it, right? So always important, do that first. Okay, so now let's get into the melody, right? So we have. Here, and I'll play it with the track just to refresh. Here we go. 1, 2. F, B flat, right? So there's our A sections. They are all the same this week, right? So here's what I did, right? We have bum, bum. So once you understand the roots, the thirds, the fifths, the arpeggios, right? Then now we're gonna create this melody, right? So you have 1, 2. Now what note is that? That's a D note, right? And this is like what we talked about last week, how you can just sort of alter like one note or something to fit, and you know, with cool rhythm or whatever, and make a cool melody. So it's like important, like think about that. D, right? That's the third of B flat. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we're at G minor. I chose to use the seventh or the E flat note there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now C minor, right? So I'm trying to keep everything in the same area here, just using chord tones. 2, 3, 4. C minor, I'm using the flat third, right? 1, 2, and now we have an F seventh, right? So what I chose to do is slide up with my third finger. And here's what's cool about this, and this is what I'm talking about with the horn stuff and the bebop stuff. That interval, you know, it's like a flat 5, right? The one, you know, the Devil's Fifth that was banned by the church. It's kind of funky sounding, right? It's very bebop-esque, but it's cool, right? Right? And that's the third of the F7th chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And I'm keeping them kind of short, you know, like just bump, 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 like something a horn would do, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, right? And then I'm walking down the 9 of the F chord there, right? So 1, 2, G minor, right? So third of the B flat chord, flat 7 of the G chord, G minor chord, minor third of the C minor, and then you get that cool leap, right? Kind of like that. Kind of like a metal sound almost, right? Right? So then we're back to, so B flat, G minor, C minor, F. Now, where am I here? I'm on the 5th of the B flat chord. So at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, right? Now the 5th of the G minor chord, right? Right, and there I gave it a little bit more variation. I made it more interesting, and that's more of a kind of a pentatonic scale sort of line, right? And you know, we have da da bum bum ba bum bum bum, right? And what I did there is I slid in, and this is over the C minor, right? So it's coming straight out of, right, that, like the B flat scale. It's just broken. It's not like a full actual scale all the way down, but da bum like I said, there's kind of another leap, right? And that's the A for the F. So, you know, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and B flat, G minor, right? And then a pickup 4 and 1 and 2 and that's all over the C minor. Now here's the thing, we're there at F right there, right? Flat 7 or the E flat and then the A. And like I said, I use that leap because it's bebop-esque, horn-esque, you know. Right? Okay, and now what we do is now we have the F minor part. So this is the second part of the A section melodies, right? So then I went bum 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 bum. Right, so here, F minor. So I'm literally going from flat 7 to 1, 1 and 2. Now we have B flat, so I went ba ba ba, 3, 5, 3, right, ba ba ba, ba 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 ba, and then I did this. Now E flat, which is the root. There's the third, the G, boom, boom, boom. Now we have this chord, right, the A flat 7. So here's how I'm looking at this. There's my flat 7 of the A flat. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, B flat, F chord, right? B flat again, right? So all together we have 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2. E flat, A flat, right? B flat, F, B flat. Make sense? Another like kind of cool, you know, leap there. F minor, B flat, 7, G, E flat, A flat, right? And then 2, F, B flat, F, back to B flat. Now here's another observation really quick, just to sprinkle it in here, if you will. Your ear might have heard, oh, it sounds like 4/4 minor or something, right? And if you're picking up on that, you are correct. And the thing is you see it written both ways. Like I chose, just for kind of more motion with chords and just for the sake of learning more chords, I did, you know, F minor, B flat, E flat, A flat. But I could have also gone, observe this. You could have just, when you went F minor, B flat, I could have gone E flat. And that's kind of a stretch, but if you just take that third, like that chord we went over, and move it back 1, it's an E flat minor 7, right? Or it's an E flat chord. It's really, there's no 7th in it, but, right? You can look at that as both ways, right? So that E flat chord can become minor, E flat, and it's the same as approaching it from a flat 7 perspective of the key, meaning B flat, to A flat. Now check this out, right? So when we looked at our arpeggio, what is the note we landed on in the melody? Right there, right? Boom, ba, boom, boom. Remember, root third, root flat third. And which is also the flat 7 of the A flat. But if you're following me, right, same sort of thing. And I'm saying that, I guess, because if you did hear it, that's great. And you want to, like I always say, approach it from as many angles or ways that you can hear it, right? Kind of like when we started and I said, oh, okay, well, you can play that chord. Yeah, I'm not telling you to play that chord. It's what works. But does this also work? Absolutely it does. You know, so as you go on this journey, with these chord grips and melodies and stuff, like try to just absorb as much of that as you can and in different ways. I think sometimes, as learners, we, like I say this all the time, it's like you learn Stairway to Heaven, right? How many people can play Stairway to Heaven in several different positions on the neck? Probably not very many, right? Because you learn it one way and you go, that's it. But then it's like you see, these great players and stuff, and they go, oh, well, learn, like, especially, like, think of, like, let's just keep it in a jazz standpoint. They'll go, oh, well, you learn a solo, and then you learn it in 3 different positions. Why? Because it's, you learn everything in there, right? Like, that's why we're constantly going back to, okay, before we even learn the melody, learn the chords, learn the arpeggios, which are the groundwork. That's what you got to do. And like, if you wanted to take this, like obviously we don't have time to do it in one lesson or something, but learn this in and out and then put it in a completely different position, right? And that would be more like a 6th position. But like, the more that you do that, like I always say, this is a puzzle piece, and you figure out that puzzle and you know where all the pieces are, right? So anyways, all right, moving on. Let's move on to the bridge here, right? So now we have D7 for 2 bars, G7, C7, F7. All right, now this melody, it sounds super cool, and it is, in my opinion. Just kidding. But it does the same. It sounds cooler. It's easier to play than it sounds. I'll put it like that, right? So here's what I did, and this is our 3rds and 7ths, right? These are the leaps, kind of the. I kind of learned this from a horn player a long time ago, and I was like, oh, this is super cool. But right, so what we're going to do here, when we hit the bridge, it's our D7th, and what I do is I'm going to keep the same exact position. I'll show you what I'm going to do here, is I start on the flat 7, which is the C note of the D chord, right? So that's 3rd finger, or I'm sorry, that's 3rd string, 2nd finger, 3rd string, 2nd finger, 5th fret. And then right underneath, you have the flat 7, or I'm sorry, the 3rd. Right? Right? Which is the F sharp of the D chord. And here's what's also cool, right? Like I'm reusing this exercise. There's also, this is the flat 7 of D, this is the F, this is the 3rd of D, right? But that interval is a flat 5, and that's what kind of gives it there's nothing weird about it because we're literally using 3rds and 7ths, right? The whole point of this lesson. But just by approaching it like that, it's unusual to the ear a little bit, right? It's not scalular, it's not like a straight arpeggio. So it kind of gives you, like I said, that edge. So we have flat 7, 3rd, and it's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? So, and then 1st finger, 4th fret, 4th string. That gets the 3rd. Now here's the thing. That's an octave, right? So I'm just repeating the 3rd up, an octave there. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and just C. Right, there's my arpeggio, so we have 1 and right down. I mean, literally coming from that, right? Like I said, that's the importance of the arpeggios and stuff. The more that, you know, you see that, it's just like, oh, there it is. Right, so flat 7, third, flat 7, third up a whole step. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shift the entire thing down chromatically just a half step, right? Because now we're going to the G chord. Now here's what's cool about these, you know, the thirds and the sevenths, and when they bounce around in fourths like that, so from D to G is a fourth, right? D, E, F sharp, G. Right, and then from G to C is a fourth, right? G, A, B, C, right? And then from C to F, C, D, E, F is a fourth, right? So it's kind of like this phenomenon, just the way it works on, you know, guitar, where you have slide it down. And what we're doing now, because of the fourth, you know, that interval, by sliding it down, this becomes the third of G. And then this is the flat 7. So what we've done is we've reversed it, right? And look, now I'm just playing thirds and sevens. You can hear the changes, right? You know, that's some serious DNA right there for these chords, right? C. And then what we're doing, we're just making a lick out of it, essentially, you know, or a melody. Right, so we have bum, 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 bum. Slide down, now magically G, right? Third, flat 7. Same exact lick, except now the octave is the flat 7 of G. Slide down again. C7, up, now just like F, or I'm sorry, just like D, right? Flat 7 of C, third, jump it up to the third in the octave, down, bum, 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 bum. Now, same thing as G, put down a whole step, right, down, bum, 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 bum. And then what did I do to tie it all back together, right? Because repetition is great. Keeping it simple, right? Like we were saying, thinking smarter, not, you know, working smarter, not harder, right? What did I do then? I said, you know, I really like this line. Boom, it's like, listeners like, that's familiar, I know that, right? And then we're back to the last A section, right? So the whole entire bridge, we have same pattern, shift down, flip-flop the third and the seventh of the chord. Shift down again. Shift down again. Right? Now we're back to the A section again. It could be a flat 7 or it could be a minor 4, depending on how you hear it, right? And then bum, 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 right? So there's our melody, right? And like I said, the takeaway, it's just keep building, you know, upon the foundation of the chords, right? The arpeggios. And then, you know, the chord tones within the melody, right? Today, I mean, we did leaps and great stuff, you know. And you can build solos out of that stuff too. Like I've said this several times too. I know I'm like a broken record, right? But you know, take these things. I mean, these can make great, you know, lead lines. And the thing about something like this, you can break up the rhythm, right? You can do that any which way. Like be super creative. You know, like pick that thing apart and do it in as many ways as you can. But yeah, like I said, it also leads for a cool, you know, even though it's got all these cool, like, intervallic, you know, leaps and stuff, you know, by way of the flat 5, the Devil's Fifth, which was banned by the church for a while, right? Because that interval is very dissonant. And isn't that fascinating? It's like we're literally using chord tones. We're using thirds and sevenths, which is the whole point, right, of this lesson, you know, and especially by way of the bridge of this song. But I mean, that is some neat. It makes you, you know, it's hip sounding, right? It doesn't sound like a guitar player. Right, so here, let's play through it one more time just to recap here, and then we can wrap this up and get ready for some questions. Okay, here we go. Right. Second A, right? 4 minor, flat 7, right? Bridge. Right? Tie it back in. Weird interval. 4 minor, flat 7, your choice. Get ready for the tag with the F minor again. There's our B flat triad, right, to kind of wrap it up. All right, y'all, so that's what we're talking about this week. I hope that was insightful. Yeah. Thirds and sevenths, especially by way of fourths like that, I mean, they can be super powerful. And like I mentioned, just all the leaps and stuff. It's, you know, it's neat stuff. It makes you sound super jazzy, makes you not sound guitar-ish. I think, you know, sometimes with guitar, we're just so used to learning, you know, and you get used to playing like that, right? But, like I said, with like breath and using a horn or something, you can, you know, you can do all that kind of cool stuff. So hopefully that was insightful. And yeah, let's get ready for the questions here. And then next week, what are we doing next week? I don't remember right now, but it's going to be good. So hopefully I'll see you then. Oh, that's right. We're going to use chromatics. We're going to kind of do a track in the style of take the A train, and I'm going to show you some kind of cool stuff to build some, yeah, like I said, some chromatics into our melodies and targeting chord tones and all that. So, you know, hopefully, like I said, on this journey, if you've been tagging along the entire time, you're realizing, oh, this actually isn't as complicated as it really is. You know, you kind of got to get under the hood, right? And just sort of think about it. Don't look at it as just positions, right? Look at where it's actually coming from via chords, arpeggios, and whatnot. And yeah, and it just makes life easier. So, all right, let's do some questions, and I will catch you guys next week. All right, thanks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live portion of week number 5. Let's get to the questions here. We got Kenny J. Whenever you play your melodies, it's always so nice and relaxed. How do you do that? That is a very great question, and also a nice compliment. So thank you, Kenny J. You know, I'm not trying to sound vague here, but it's listening, right? Like, there's so much. Here's the thing with groove, right? Like, everything has a groove, but groove is also a very difficult thing to teach. You know, like, you can put the notes on the paper, right? Like, for instance, if we all read this, whether it was the tab or the notes, And everybody's going to kind of play it slightly different. And that's what's super cool about music, right? Is everybody has their own interpretation of something that even is pretty much the same. But like listening to your favorite players, like where they put that, like slightly behind or, you know, ahead of the beat, that has a lot to do with it. A lot of it too is touch and feel, vibrato, and you know, those are great things to experiment with. Like with vibrato, you know, sometimes just shaking your finger, you know, one way like that, it sounds way different than moving it like this, right? So I would really experiment with those kind of nuances and you know, see what you think. And like I said, just listening, I mean, really that's a huge thing. It's just trying to emulate some of your favorite players by like matching their tone or, you know, the way they phrase things and all that. So I hope that helps. We got Tony here. I have a hard time remembering which head is which when it comes to jazz standards. Any tips? Well, let me see here. I have a hard time remembering which head is which when it comes to jazz standards. Any tips? That's kind of a tough one. Some tunes are kind of the same. Obviously, like we're talking about rhythm changes, and there's a bunch of them. You know, with that question, just play your favorites. Or, you know, a lot of times I'll be on a gig or something, and somebody will go, "Oh, do you play this?" And I go, "Yeah, how does that go again?" And then sometimes you need a refresh, because tunes are similar. And hell, also, that's a really good problem to have, in a way. You know, as long as you know the tunes, right, and the chord changes. But, you know, I mean, obviously singing it and just knowing it by heart, I guess we haven't touched upon this a whole lot. But when you learn these melodies, it shouldn't just be, you know... You know, it should be... I'm speeding up a lot, but right now, and I mean that's just the classic old, you know, you gotta play what you know, sing what you hear, right? So that is a good way to kind of dedicate something to that. Yeah, and I mean otherwise, I'm remembering which. Yeah, count on your peers, or you know, try to sing the stuff. That's what I would say. Yeah, and just keep at it, right? All right, everybody, that is all the questions that we have for today. But like I said, thanks for sticking around. What are we doing next week? Next week we have a tune. We're going to use chromatics, so this is going to be pretty fun. We're also going to dive into a few more chord choices and positions on the neck. It'll be a good lesson. There'll be a lot in there. And we're doing it in the style of Take the A Train. Except it's my version, it's Take the B Train. But yeah, chromatics, stuff like that. So stick around, and thanks for the questions, and I will catch you next week. All right, thank you.